Hey, this is the World Advice Channel 2. What I want to talk about today is the topic of the truth about the war in Syria. So for this video, what it's going to consist of is a life lesson that people can learn from the situation that happened in Syria, specifically related to, of course, the war and, of course, the ethnic group known as the Alawites who were doing the oppressing. So you can learn from this experience and not make the same mistakes they made. So you can live the best and happiest life that you can live, whether it's you or the group of people you belong to. Not make the mistake the Alawites made, okay? So that's what we'll be talking about today, and I'm Anjana. Let's get started. So when it comes to the topic of Syria, what the lesson is that what is happening in Syria specifically the Alawite community is a lesson of what happens when people feel that they can treat other people as less, okay? In other words, oppress other people, okay? Because the truth of the matter is, even though I know some people, of course, I'm not going to say this and say that, and of course make up shit and say, well, not all the Alawites were supporters of Bashar al-Assad and blah, 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 the whole nine yards, and some were actually against him. But the truth of the matter is, many people were in Syria, which is definitely not just something, this topic doesn't just relate to Syria. It's a life lesson that people can learn, that people can use throughout any other part of the world, okay? The truth of the matter is, what's going on in Syria is an example of, like I was saying before, what happens when people believe they can treat people like shit, okay? Because the Alawite community people, the majority of them were actually involved in it, okay? Whether it comes to serving in the military or going around spreading hate comments online, putting people down who, of course, were Sunni Muslims, who they felt they could mistreat and talk poorly about and call them terrorists. And the truth of the matter is, no matter how you look at it, whether you want to admit it or not, the majority of the Alawite community still support Bashar al-Assad, okay? And there's even clips of them after, of course, on YouTube, of them saying that they're all afraid because they knew what they did to the majority of the population of the country was wrong, and they're scared that there's going to be retaliation for it, okay? But either way, the point is, the majority of them did take part in oppressing, of the Alawite community, in oppressing the other groups of people who are not Alawites, okay? What they did was wrong, that was very evil, okay? And the truth of the matter is, to further elaborate on the message I'm trying to get across when it comes to why those people should not be evil, because the truth of the matter is, when it comes to that point of the matter, okay, related to this topic, okay, the truth of the matter is, when it comes to this topic why those people should not be evil, is that the thing about the universe is that no matter what you do, there is consequences to it, okay? Let alone the fact that no matter how good you have it, there's always negativity that's going to come up, okay? And the truth of the matter is, the Alawite community thought they could treat people like shit. They could do this evil, wicked stuff to the majority of the population. Like, these people were literally shooting at people who were protesting peacefully. Notice I say peacefully in the beginning of the Syrian civil war in early 2011. Peacefully protesting against the mistreatment Bashar al-Assad was doing towards their community. And they're shooting at them. And some of the Alawite community were still defending them, okay? And the thing is, like I was saying before about the universe is so weird, because sometimes it'll make evil people feel like you're on top of the world, nothing can stop you, everything's going to go well, let alone anyone who's successful, whether it's an individual or a group of people, and of course, some of those are evil, malevolent groups of people, and then reality just comes and hits you in the face, like anything. You realize anyone can have it bad, not just this particular group of people, it can be anyone, okay? And there's many examples of this throughout the whole history of the planet, okay? Empires that mistreated the people, and not just empires that necessarily were mistreating the people, but even the people themselves, that the specific group of people were oppressors, okay? They were mistreating people and thought they could treat people like shit, however they wanted to, and all that sort of stuff, and then reality caught up to them, okay? Whether it could be certain groups of people in the Middle East, obviously, during, the first civilizations, thousands of years ago, the era which we refer to today as Mesopotamia, the Mesopotamian era. There's numerous examples of that happening in every continent. People thought they're invincible, like like the ancient Greeks actually around themselves were actually very guilty of that. Yet their philosophy taught them to not think in that way, which well kind of says a lot about philosophy in general. People can change one thing and do another, and then they got, of course, ancient Greeks got conquered by the Romans, all that type of stuff. There's so many examples in history of not just governments, but groups of people who felt they could treat other groups of people like shit and treat them like they're less. Until that day eventually came where they realized, oh shit, it's catching up to us now, okay? Whether it be maybe they fuck with the wrong military, maybe it could be a natural disaster or political issues and stuff, and one thing leads to another. And then eventually, I mean, of course, like anything in life, it just takes one bad thing to happen, and everything just falls down like a deck of cards. And that's exactly what happened to the Alawite community. They were treating these people like shit forever. In this war, that was going on in Syria, they were going around bullying people online, which I think is actually the most unforgivable thing. The psychological effects. There's even these stories about things that they were doing to people who they kidnapped and were putting in, prison cells, and were having men in these places in, like, I think it was like Idlib or something. But I don't know. They were doing things in prisons, and they were having men raped. They were cutting off their limbs. They were like torturing them. Like they had something where they like had somebody just like put a human being put on a bed, and then have like this metal thing that comes out and just crush them. Like this complete freaking wickedness. In all honesty. And they were all complicit. All the Alawites knew this was going on in one way or the other. Besides, only like 4 million up in Syria, and there's a bunch of people who serve in the Syrian army for crying out loud, okay? Besides, it's a war that's easily had over 100,000 to hundreds of thousands of deaths. So where are these deaths coming from? It's coming to number one. The truth of the matter is, the Alawites did play a role in this oppression. Okay, the majority of them did, and now they're in the FO stage. Okay, and now the FO stage has come, and they don't know what to do because it's not just last year hundreds of them were killed. Even to this year, more and more are still being discriminated against. People are not treating them well. People are ignoring them, and people are not just doing those things. Of course, no shit. People are also killing them because people are so pissed about all the things that they did to the Alawite community. They're doing some wickedness, and they were getting away with it for years. Okay, so it's now they're in a stage of, well, FO, find out. For the term, fuck around, find out, and now they're in the FO stage. Because they treated these people like shit. They felt they were superior to them, and it's catching up to them now. And that's the truth about the universe. It can make you feel like you're at the top of the world. Like many great empires in the past, they felt like they're invincible and never end. And then it just one thing leads to another. And sometimes it's overnight. Everything falls apart. And that's what's going to matter. So in short, to answer your question, that of course, for this video, this is what happens when people treat people like shit and feel that they can treat other people like crap. Okay? And a lesson that there is to learn from this particular topic is that no group of people throughout any part of the world is invincible, okay? Whether it's oppressive groups of people like American whites in the American South, or it could be another easy example could obviously be the oppressive whites in South Africa, for that matter, okay? Or of course the oppressive Sinhalese community in Sri Lanka, or any other part of the world where people are oppressive, okay? You could Things can eventually catch up to you, okay? There's no such thing as any group of people in the world who are invincible, okay? No matter how, uh, you know, powerful you think you are, life is a bitch, and life is unfair to anyone, okay? Life, in all honesty, is cause and effect. There's no such thing as it having a preferential treatment towards any particular individual over another individual, okay? That's the truth of a life. Life is a bitch to everyone, okay? It does not have, it's not going to give one person more of this compared to another person, okay? It's a bitch to everyone, okay? So the truth of the matter is, the lesson that there is to learn, to further elaborate on it, is that treat every group of people well, even if they're of a different group of people, because you don't know when it's going to come back to haunt you and a group of people if you are doing oppressing, okay? And that is honest truth. And simply put it, treat other groups of people well, okay? Because you never know how things can go. The Alawites seemed like they were going to win the war in Syria. They were treating the people terribly. Felt like it was going to go on forever. For the longest time, people say that they were doing well, and then just overnight, they were defeated by the Free Syrian Army, and Bashar al-Assad, the person who was supposed to be the person who was fighting for them, just left, and he hasn't even come back to even help them anymore. You know, his own people, who he said he would fight for to the end. Okay, and that's the truth of the matter. So, in short, treat every group of people well, because no matter how powerful you, the group of people you belong to, it can eventually come back to haunt you. Okay, the evil things that you've done to them, and that's what they're learning the hard way. Okay, and that's true. So, anyway, this is my video. This is all to say and to be put on my so body.